Hello, Rob here from the Flanagan Homestead and East Fork Christmas Trees Farm. Today is August 1st. We are just about done with our shearing. I am not going to do any teaching today, but this is just kind of a field update, things that I like, things that I don't like. Maybe you can glean some information from this. First of all, the layout of the farm. There's a couple thousand younger trees here, none of which are large enough to harvest just yet. That's an expansion of the field. As you work back here to the older field, you can see trees that were harvested out and replanted, so we have various sizes, as opposed to over there where they're all pretty much the same size because they were planted, those 2,000 trees, 1,000 a year for a couple years. Some of these larger trees are looking pretty good. If you haven't been working on Christmas trees for very long, the reason some of the trees get tall is because nobody else wanted them. All these small trees are trees that people liked and took, and so these larger trees, they're the ones that were a challenge, and to get them back into shape, so like you can see this one up here, the top is pretty ugly. Doing things to get them back in shape and get them sellable is a challenge sometimes, but it looks like these are going to be able to sell. We have a few on the other side of the farm here that Barry and I have talked about. If they don't sell this year, we're just cutting them down and throwing them on the fire because we're tired of dealing with these big ugly trees, trying to get them so someone wants them. But if you can get them to look nice and they're 12 feet tall, then they're really valuable. Something I'm really not happy with is the amount of thistle. I think you can see the seed blowing past me right now. We thought we had a good kill on the thistle. There's a bunch of it right here, and the seeds blowing up. It's not all over the place, but it is a fair amount. And the other thing that we always have trouble with is the Queen Anne's lace. We can't get rid of that, but at least that doesn't poke and sting us. So just so you know, we've hired a crew in that did most of the shearing this year. I didn't do nearly as much. They do a good job, it looks good, but there's a couple things that I'm not liking. For instance, this tree, okay, it looks nice and full, then it gets to the top, we're kind of empty up here, and then it extends up. Usually when we have a crew come in and shear the trees, we do the tops first, and then they shear them, but they agreed to do the tops, and they've done successfully in the past, so we let them go. But with this tree being this full, up to 7 feet tall, and that little gap and everything, and then that run, that should not be allowed to run like that. We got to shorten this up so that this nice full body tree can fill in there and take it. I might even be tempted to just cut this off right here, even though there's a lot of branches up there, and call this the top and hope that this section sells this year. Overall, I'm happy with the work the crew is doing. They create nice shape, but there's several trees that have the same problem I just mentioned. Too much run and too many leaders on that tall of a tree. Good looking tree, but here's another one. Way too much leader left on a tree that's that tall. And then this tree also. Nice looking tree. It needs a chance to catch up, and too much leader on the top. We're gonna need to bring those back in. In case you're wondering, the trees we've been looking at are noble firs here in Washington State. They're the most popular Christmas tree. Doug firs are still really popular as well. But here on our farm, noble firs are probably 70% of our sales. We are trying to get more Nordmans in specifically. Nordmans are very similar in many ways, but they're more disease resistant. So we're trying to get more Nordman, but grand firs are probably 25% of the sales. We do sell a lot of grand firs every year. And then we do a few Doug firs, which are historically very popular, but we just are not a fan. We probably should plant more for our customers, but we don't do a lot of Doug firs. Here you can see our thistle problem took over again this year. We had them killed, but then some of them emerged after the initial kill. I was just talking about Doug firs. These taller trees right in front of us are some of our Doug firs. Again, they fill in nice and full. You can create a nice tight shape, but I just don't think they're the prettiest Christmas trees. And here we're walking into some grand firs that are getting established. Most of these 5-6 feet tall. Grand firs are our second most popular tree. Actually, that's not true. Nobles are our most popular, with Nordman fast catching up, but because we interplant those and our customers can't tell the difference, a lot of our customers can't, we just sell, we kind of count Nobles and Nordmans as one, and they're really not. But for our customers, they are. And so our Grand Firs are right behind our Nobles and Nordmans in popularity. I shouldn't say right behind, but 50% of the Noble and Nordman sale, we get Grand Fir sale. The first few years we did Grand Firs, they were just amazing in this field. They grew better here than anywhere else around in the neighboring farms, and they grew amazingly well here. We still get a lot of really nice Grand Firs with this color, nice and full, but it's not quite as glorious. I mean, it was almost 100% just beautiful color, beautiful needles and everything, grew really well. But whether it was the seed source or we've done something to the soil, we're not getting 100% as beautiful trees as we were on the Grands. So this is one where the needles just don't look quite as good as they used to be. And that's, we're getting a percentage of trees that look like that. We need to remedy that situation and get back to just glorious Grand Firs. If you're not familiar with Grand Firs, I kind of consider them a cross between Nobles and Dougs. They fill in, they have finer branches, they fill in really thick, just like a Doug fir, a little bit darker color, and they are a little bit thicker branches. The thing that I like the most about Grand Firs, they smell amazing. When we're shearing or clipping branches of trees, sometimes if I have Grand Fir branches laying around, I'll just pick up a handful, throw them in my pickup, and be the air freshener. The Nobles smell good too, but the Grand Firs, that is the biggest selling point in my opinion. Just smell amazing. Here's a very nice Grand Fir. It's almost 7 feet tall. You know, when they say you want 6, 7, 8 footers for the public, this you would think would be an ideal target this year. But in my opinion, people, when they come out to the tree farm, their eyes are bigger than their living rooms. And even though they should be getting a 7-foot tree, people that are supposed to be getting a 7 and 8 footer are getting an 8 and 9 footer or 9 and 10 footer. And when you're picking a tree out in the field, they must appear shorter to the people, and they always get too big of a tree. Not always. And I have one friend that tells me he knows how long he's been in the house by the number of scrapes on the ceiling where they put the Christmas tree up, because every year they get a tree too tall, stand it up and scrape the ceiling. Other things that are changing, maybe this year, maybe next year. This is the warming shed. We have a wood stove in there, free hot chocolate, free candy canes, and a place for people to stay dry and warm up, including the people selling it. And then behind that gate over there is our petting zoo. And then this area, this loop around here, is where people have parked, quite often parked all the way up the street there. And we've had as many as 50 cars here at one time, but that's pretty full. Usually a normal day is like 10 cars at a time here. We're not a really big farm, but we're going to be making some changes soon. Maybe this year. Barry's supposed to be here talking with me, but I'm coming back from a doctor's appointment, injured my knee playing volleyball, and Barry's out fishing because that's what he loves to do. But we've had initial discussions, but this is some of our changes. Okay, here's our predicament. If you're new to the channel and don't know our story, we've had a tree farm for a little over 20 years, doing great. Customers coming, people loving us, but then due to potential health concerns with Barry, family concerns because it's not all his land or our land, how the land's going to be divided up, and then we didn't plant for a couple years trying to figure out the whole master plan. Then when we decided let's go forward and actually enlarge the farm, we planted 2,000 Nobles, and that was the year we had the record heat. We had a day that was 12 degrees hotter on this farm than it had ever been before. Not just a little bit of a record, but a huge record. I had planted 2,000 Nobles that year, 50 lived. And so we had a huge span of time where there was no trees. So in the last several years, the harvestable size trees have really been down for us, and we've been losing customers because we're just closing after the first weekend. We're like, we're out of trees, we got to save some. And then the next year we open for a weekend and we're out of trees. But You know, this is one of our new blocks, and in 2 years there's going to be a bunch of trees sold out of that. Plus, when these were planted over here, we were interplanting amongst that, and there's so many of them out here that in 2-3 years we're going to have way more trees than we have customers now, because our customers have had to go other places because we've been short. And so one of our plans is we're going to try to get some wholesale trees. We've never brought pre-cut trees in and sold them here before. We've wholesaled out but never brought them in, so that we could stay open another weekend or two and keep it open and start getting our customers back. So in a couple years we're going to have more trees than we've ever had to sell, and we're going to try to move the sales area back towards that red barn that you see back there, and a little bit to the right behind those taller firs is the wedding barn. That's a really nice venue for weddings, and we plan to use that to sell merchandise out of there and make that the staging area. But we have two concerns. One, this whole section is Noble's Nordman's. This is as well, and so is all of this. Our Doug fir section is halfway up there, and then in the far corner is the Grand firs. And when we sold, the little warming shed that I showed you before is right over there, that red roof. When we sold from there, the Grand firs and the Dougs are a small enough section that you could be close to both of them and you weren't too far from the Nobles, and it was easy to find. But if we are selling back there, people that want Grands and Dougs gonna have to do quite a march through the field, which I don't think is that big of a deal, but we need to find a way to do it. Plus we need more parking. So we're gonna develop this road a little bit nicer, and then we're going to put gravel along the side here, and then we can use the pasture for parking when it's not too terribly wet. And then there's more parking right in front of the red barn. Our thought is people will come in and go one way on this road, come in and park and go out that way. To help people get their trees in and to create an atmosphere, we're considering hooking up a trailer to a tractor and basically doing a hayride, and then Barry will just drive. I'll run the operations of the farming, and Barry will just drive a tractor around in circles, picking up people with trees and then dropping people off in the section that they want. And I don't know, let us know what you think as a consumer or as a farmer. Is that going to be a positive thing? Is that going to be too much of an expectation if we start doing it and then we don't do it anymore? But you know, if someone was to get a tree from over here and wait at this corner, and at each corner Barry will stop, pick up people with their trees and take them back over to the barn, where I will be taking their money, shaking their trees, baling them, and sending them on their way. Okay, so this is the old setup. There's the warming shed where people kind of meet us. Here's the normal parking when it's a slow day. Everybody could park there. I'm usually waiting right here by the fire to sell, take pay. So we come in here and we're going through the Grand fir section first, which is not huge. And then we hit the Doug firs right here. Then we continue up this road. We're going to fix this up. So the plan is to have everybody come through this way. Obviously, it's going to be a one-way street. Then we come out here. There's the new blocks out there. Pasture, which may become Christmas trees. And then we got Noble Nordman mix. We're trying to get more Nordmans than Nobles on this end of the field. And you can tell by the bouncing in my truck, we'll definitely need to improve this when we put the gravel down, but we'll have the equipment in here to do that. People will also be able to park right here at this end of the barn, but the sales area is going to be right up here, and we're looking forward to suggestions. We'll be using this red barn. This area here will be for the parking on slow days. The petting zoo will be moved off to the back of this little tiny barn. And then the wedding venue barn can be used for selling merchandise. We've grown a lot of good Christmas trees and done well selling, but we need to move, and we're not professional designers, civil engineers on how to design travel and parking. But yeah, parking will be here. Obviously the baler, we're going to move it probably somewhere over here, put a new slab for the shaker over here, trim this tree up. These berries will probably be gone. Fenced in petting zoo over there, and everybody will exit out that way. There's our August 2025 update. Thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching, cleaning, horticulture is my job, and outdoor projects are my passion. Hope to see you again soon. Be blessed, everyone.